I am so excited to share with you my newest ebook, which is an 84-page protocol or document on how to perform the 8 essential movements, 8 fundamental movements. So whether someone comes in with a rotator cuff tear, low back pain, a hamstring strain, elbow tendinopathy, a rotator cuff tear, anywhere throughout the body, we need to be able to perform these 8 fundamental or functional movements. Those movements are the squat, the lunge, the hinge, upper body push and pull, how we carry things, twisting and rotation, and then lastly, locomotion or gait. In this booklet, if you see the chapter contents, I talk about why we do the 8 fundamental movement patterns. There is a chapter on each one of these and then where to go from here. So after you learn each fundamental movement pattern, how can we progress and regress those? Really, what's the graded exposure approach to helping people get from out of pain back to performance, or from feeling aches and pains in their body just to feeling better and moving better from a longevity standpoint? These 8 fundamental movement patterns I mentioned are the squat, lunge, and hip hinge. So that's how we pick things up from the ground. The push and pull. So a push would be a pressing type of movement. A pull is bringing something towards your body. Carry strength or grip strength even has been highly associated with one's longevity or risk of mortality. And then twisting and rotation, which has a heavy athletic component. And then lastly, how we walk. So probably the most fundamental human movement of all. In this book, I go over roughly a 10-page intro on why we do the 8 fundamental movements, so what these things look like in our daily lives. I talk through several pages about the concept of movement efficiency, how our body is meant to move through these 8 movement patterns, and then also the biomechanical advantages of moving in these different ways. As you go further through the book, and each chapter, what you can expect to see is the importance of each fundamental movement, the key principles, functional biomechanics, the muscles that we use for each pattern, joints involved, good check marks and movement observation, practical steps for analysis, and tips for correction. What that looks like in real time is you have our chapter 2 is on the squat, a quick intro into the squat, but then key principles of the squat, biomechanics. So what does the starting position look like? What does the descent phase or the eccentric phase of the squat look like at the bottom, and then how you ascend out of that movement? Lastly, as I mentioned, muscles that are activated. For the squat, your primary muscles are going to be your quadriceps, your hamstrings, and glutes. These are functional movements and they involve lots of big muscle groups. Joints involved, how to coach someone or how to help someone go from a dysfunctional movement to a better movement pattern. So that's good check marks and movement observation. And then lastly, how can you help coach somebody? So practical steps for analysis, tips for correction. Those are going to include both verbal cues and physical cues. So I cover each one of those things for the squat, the lunge movement, the hip hinge. And then as we get down towards the end of the book, this is locomotion here. The last chapter is where to go from here. So how to incorporate these movements into your life. The concept of graded exposure is huge. But then for each one of these, with the squat, the initial phase, progression, and advanced. For the lunge, initial phase, progression, and advanced. What that looks like is how you can take someone who's either having pain or having an issue with a movement, and then where to regress them, and then how to progress them into more advanced movements. So I'm so excited to share this with you. I've been working on this for the last several months, and I hope you get a lot of value of it, both in your own personal life, but also then helping clients out.